Let's talk about the TEC-9, Marshal, and whether or not you should be using them. With how amazing the EM2 turned out, I had high expectations for the TEC-9 and the Marshal. However, I was instantly let down when I figured out that neither of these weapons had suppressors available to them. And because I don't like to do stat guides on weapons without suppressors, well, if you guys really want them, you can ask for them and you may see them on a Community Wednesday. But regardless, I will still tell you what's great about them because there is a lot that's amazing, and you may be surprised. And during these limited time event modes that hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of in the future, like Payload and currently Kingslayer Trios, they may actually have a part in Warzone. So let's start with the new weapon, the Marshal. Pretty much, it's a double-barreled shotgun pistol. It's always a 2-shot kill if the enemy has 2 armor plates, so keep that in mind when you miss or you kill one enemy and his buddy's looking right at you. Its effective damage range really is under 5 meters. After that, you're not going to be having much of a good time. And because there's no real way to tighten its hipfire spread, you're kind of just going to have to hipfire and hope for the best. And while you can technically ADS, this is not really a weapon that you're going to be ADSing with. You're pretty much going to be running around a corner while you're reloading, swap to this and get ready for them to come around and you'll blast them. And it is effective against one person, but against 2, 3, or 4 people, there's just no way that you can use this effectively. Unless you're facing a bunch of bots that let you reload and attack you one by one, yeah, there's no way that this can be properly used. But really, how often do you find yourself fighting at point blank range? I usually try to give myself a good buffer space between my long range combat and my close range combat so that I can swap to my SMG and gun them down. Basically, I have it in my head as a little rule that if they can cross my 15 meter to 5 meter mark, I'm pretty much already dead. So while this is a cool weapon, it's just not really that great. So what build do I recommend for this? Dual wielded with effective damage range increase. Once everyone's running cold-blooded, then yeah, you can start using Dragon's Breath rounds. The reason I recommend this build is because all you really want to do is make sure that you down someone. And even though this build does kind of hurt our mobility, this is for point blank range. If you have to run across the room, you may as well just be using your other gun at that point. And you do not want to be running around in the open with this, because the second you get shot, you gotta swap and you're probably gonna die. So let's move on to the TEC-9. I'm just gonna say, the semi-auto version of this gun is the best version of this gun. The full auto version is cool, but it doesn't deal as much damage, and the burst one is also pretty decent, but semi-auto, that's where it's at. Incredible accuracy and incredible range. It's just an amazing sniper support weapon, and even a pretty decent SMG. But because it can't be suppressed, it's so difficult to recommend. Maybe in Rebirth you can get away with using it, but I wouldn't count on it because you would just get everyone swarming on you. But in a limited time mode like currently Kingslayer Trios, this gun is amazing since you plan on dying after 10 seconds anyway. You land on the king, you kill him, then you turn around and wipe everyone around and that you can see as far as it goes. Then you get wiped out yourself and you land in a better spot. Rinse and repeat. What I'd recommend is the Flashguard 9, the Ranger Barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, Millstop Reflex, and 48 round mags. I chose the Millstop Reflex instead of the Bruiser Grip because at longer ranges, using the Millstop makes it really easy to hit those shots. But you don't have to use the Millstop, you can use basically any other red dot sight that has slightly more magnification. However, if you do want to run it as a true SMG, there's nothing stopping you from using the typical SMG build for it. It does perform better this way in full auto at close range, but you lose pretty much all the potential at longer ranges. So why do I recommend the semi-auto version instead of the full auto version, when the full auto version does make a better SMG? And if you actually take a look at the damage values, they don't seem to be that great, and you would assume the TTK is pretty high. But because its recoil is so low, it is insanely easy to get headshots. And because its visual recoil is extremely low, it matches its real recoil, and you can easily just get headshot after headshot after headshot. And since it's semi-only, you're saving a lot of ammo, so that means you really aren't wasting a lot of bullets when you're downing people. But I've gotta say that this only applies if you're hitting headshots and upper torso shots. If you're hitting a lot of limb shots, you're not gonna be having a great time. The TTK will rise dramatically, and you're probably just better off running it in full auto and using it like a normal SMG. But at that point, why not just use the OTS-9? The build I've been using has been serving me well up to around 100 meters. It can stretch out a bit further, but it is of course still an SMG. But just because its TTK is high does not mean that its shots to kill is high. It does require almost a whole second if you're not really hitting any headshots, but that doesn't mean that that's a lot of shots. That means at the absolute worst, it's a maximum of 8 shots to kill. But in a lot of these limited time modes, you do not spawn with full armor. So in reality, it's probably going to be closer to 6 shots to kill, unless the enemy is using the tempered perk. So that's why for the purpose of this video, I tried to run the TEC-9 with the Marshal, and surprisingly, it went pretty well. I used the TEC-9 as my all-purpose weapon, being up close and all the way to longer ranges, and it did pretty fine. And when someone tried to rush me, I swapped to the Marshal and blasted them. And because I usually end up having a Kingslayer icon above my head for most of the matches, there's no really point in trying to hide the fact that I have an unsuppressed weapon. So yeah, it's a pretty fun weapon as long as you're getting headshots. If you start hitting legs and arms, you're just not gonna be having a good time. And even at longer ranges, if you're just hitting people just out there, they're gonna be really surprised because they're just not expecting to be hit with such high damage at such a rate of fire. So yeah, try them out, have some fun with them during these limited time modes, but don't expect to use them in the real battle royale. So that's the TEC-9 and the Marshal. Have you unlocked them yet? And if so, what'd you think about them? And if there's a weapon, build, or part of the game you want me to cover, let me know and you may see it on the next Community Wednesday. But that's the video. If you enjoyed it or it's helped in any way, let me know by leaving a like. If you got any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section down below. And if you want to make sure that you never miss our video, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.